Today on the BlastCast, we're going to be discussing some upcoming changes in the flight model, possible F8 ship sale, along with face and building technology. This week on the BlastCast, let's get to it. Greetings everyone and welcome to another episode of BlastCast. Once again with me is my bastion of common sense, the Lightning Dragon. And of course this week is going to be a very important week in Star Citizen because the new flight model is going to be discussed here in this week's Around the Verse according to Chris Roberts. And that's going to be a big deal because we've all been kind of waiting to see the changes that were going to be coming in that needed to come in order to make all the ship types work in coordination with one another. So you don't have basically two classes of ships, Predator and Prey. Before we get into that, I want to step into something that I think you should probably take with not so much a grain of salt, maybe like a bucket of salt.
10% less than a lethal dose of salt.
Yes. Ben was on Ben's Day with Nikki, and he stated that the F8 Lightning might actually go on to a concept sale. And once again, consider the source. And, you know, it's 50-50, maybe less. But
At best.
At best. So, you know, if it does go on concept, I'm tempted to get rid of my Vanguard and all the BUKs because the Vanguard's been, in my opinion, has been a bit of a disappointment, and I think I'd have more fun with the F8. Though, I don't know, the idea of selling a ship that's supposed to be like the best ship that only the military is supposed to have, so it was like, if any of you have ever played EVE, you know that basically when the cops show up, they got better gear, better equipment than you do, and you're going to lose. Yeah, well, and so basically I looked at it as, you know, if you were doing something illegal and the police showed up, that they would have better equipment. It was kind of the balance. It was kind of a way of having the AI guarantee to come in and stomp some butt. But if
I would think that they could still kick your ass because they'd have, let's say for an example,
the programming.
Well, programming reasons they could have like they could have police AI where they're like 100% better at everything. But one of the things is, for example, if let's say a hypothetical scenario, you're in part of a cult and there's like 20 dudes and you have assault rifles and stuff. You don't have military grade assault rifles, but maybe some of them are modified so they're fully automatic. And the military comes down on you, you're outnumbered like 100 to 1, 200 to 1, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So
still,
even if you have close to the same quality of equipment, you're gonna be outnumbered.
I still find it interesting to even have that statement show up because for the longest time they made it very clear that the F8 would never be something the players would be able to own and have that kind of reversal on that.
They kept kind of throwing it down your throat, but it's kind of like I was kind of like, that's kind of a bummer, but I've been over it for a long time, so you know, just because the ship has my namesake doesn't mean I'm going to be butthurt about it.
Everyone gets to get inside Lightning.
Oh yeah.
Serious butthurt ensues. No, so they also showed on Around the Verse that basically some of the early face tech, and what they've done is they've taken scans of hundreds of different faces, and they're going to let you mix and match parts of the faces and to kind of create the head you want, and then use sliders to make the adjustment on that. So I think just within that initial system, we should be able to get enough customization to make your character look the way you want for the most part. And same thing with hair. Hair is going to have different colors and lengths and things like that, and that hair tech is still being worked on, so we all don't have to be bald anymore. I assume that's going to be coming out probably with
but our hairstyle will be so much less efficient that way.
Yeah, that's true. And they also showed off the modular structures. This is how they were building rooms, how basically they have set areas, and within that they can define what a room is, and by simply selecting what the room is, the game automatically populates the stuff that should be in a room of that size, and this way they don't have to go out and construct every room in every building. And it's kind of cool. They say it's going to save a lot of build time and everything else around that, including damage and things like that. I'm sure that's worked out through something different, but the idea that they can basically lay out a building in a series of rooms, say here's a generator room, here's a bathroom, here's a bedroom, here's a kitchen, and then the game looks at the size of the room and then just knows, okay, I have this by this to work with, boom, and it just fills it up. That's pretty awesome. That's going to make for some very quick building. And in fact, if you look at it a certain way, if they do go along the lines of player housing, building your own house, that could be pretty interesting too. So those are pretty minor things. They did actually talk about last week or show the vision stabilization. A lot of people getting motion sickness with the head bob that's been in the game. And the interesting thing is they used the solution came from the idea of how birds stabilize their vision, because they don't stabilize the vision the way that human beings do. And so what they do is their head actually stays in the same position while the body's moving around. So they basically created the camera in a sense on a rig that does a very similar thing. So while they still have it in the correct place, it adjusts the way that a bird does it, and basically creating a very nice smooth effect that your mind does automatically. Because when you walk down a hallway, you don't see everything bouncing up and down. So an interesting thing is that one of the guys in the Arena Commander forums at Alien War a while ago had brought this up, and I don't know if they got the idea from him or whatnot, if they missed it, but he had come up with the idea a long time ago that this might be a solution. So I'm kind of curious to know if that was the case or not. So let's get into the real meat of everything on this BlastCast. There was a Reddit leak. Now, I know some people don't like us talking about leaks, but it's out there, and it's a spoiler warning, but it's all you talk about flight model. We're not ruining anything about story. We're not ruining anything. It's just talking about the upcoming flight model changes that Will Leverett had discussed so far. So if you're interested in that, stick around. If not, I just warned you. But as I said, it's just flight model. I'm not ruining anything. I'm just telling you what you can kind of look forward to.
We've been expecting a flight model change for like a year and a half or less or more, give or take 6 months.
Yeah.
So okay, they're going to change the flight model. Huzzah! But most of us knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah. It was absolutely, it had to happen, because right now the ships don't interact. Fighters really only interact with fighters, and large ships can't really do much with them because they move too quickly, and turrets are pointless. And as you saw in the video that we did when I did the split screen persistent universe video,
any maneuver that I did just totally jacked up Jar's aim.
Yeah, there was nothing I could do. The turret became instantly useless. So what they've got going on here is that a long time ago, for those of you who haven't played for a long time, the speeds of all the ships were about half of what they are now. It looks like they're going back to that. They're going to be bringing the speeds down from about 100 to 200 meters a second across the board. So what they're trying to do is they feel the combat distances have gotten way too far apart. And in a large respect, I agree, because like ships, you're not targeting ships, you're shooting at boxes on your HUD because they're so far away.
Evil boxes.
Well, and this is going to include a rebalance of SCM speeds and all ship handling across the board. Now, some ships that we've been flying in the persistent universe, there's been some ships that have been the Hornet, for example, have been the heart or the center point that they built out from. In order to make some ships competitive, they've had to, in the current system, push out their performance way past what they were supposed to do, and in others they've had to I guess kind of go both ways. So by bringing everything kind of back to the way that they originally did it with the pacing, I think this is a good step. This is, in a sense, think of cutting the speeds in half. And they said they're also going to be basically adjusting the roll and also the strafing speeds. Now, since they're cutting the main speeds in half, I can't see them basically increasing those. They're already like at a 60-40 ratio, with 40 being the thrusters, the lateral strafing thrusters. I would guess since they're readjusting them, they're not going to go 50-50. I would probably say they're going less. And so we're looking at probably the flight engine moving into a more main-centric kind of flight model, which once again can only help the whole. I'm excited about this. I haven't been this excited about a change to Star Citizen in a long time. To me, this very well may be what we've been fighting for in the Arena Commander forums for a long time. A very important step to getting exactly the game it was supposed to be. Pacing is so important when you do anything that's supposed to be a flight simulator. It all has to mesh together or it doesn't work. and you just cannot have two classes. You cannot have predators, and you cannot just have prey. Otherwise, nobody wants to play the game. Or everyone's gonna say, oh, there's a fighter, and everyone just warps out or whatever. No one's gonna want to deal with it. So they also reduced the speeds because they wanted to reduce the amount of collisions that people were incurring. And I guess as they're building like these satellite systems and stuff, they talk about how they can take damage in that video. So they don't want people ramming their satellites and things like that. As probably as little as possible anyway. So like, if you can be out in the persistent universe, and if a satellite gets hit and takes damage, I mean, you can imagine the amount of missions that are pop up on the boards of repairing some space station or something because some idiot's got a hornet stuck to the side of it. Yeah, So, that maybe that'll affect the economy. I don't know. They're also rebalancing all the shields. Now, they don't have the full shield system in according to this leak, but what they've done is that they know the numbers they should be according to the new system. So they're just going to basically put those numbers into the system, how many hit points they have or whatever they're using, and then fake it for now until they finish it up. But basically, the new shield values should be there. There's to be a rebalance of fuel consumption and fuel tanks on all ships. Afterburner and boost consumption rates adjusted, and a rebalance of missile loadouts on ships, including editable missile rack hardpoints. So basically, they talked about how they wanted to have the options of other types of missile racks, like if you have them under your wings or whatnot, where you can have just 2 missiles, you can have 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever it is. So that's going to be part of it as well. The only thing they don't mention in this is if there's any changes to IM, but in my personal opinion, now if you were around when we went from like 1.3 to 2.0, aiming became even more prevalent. To an extent, because ships moved slower, aiming got a lot easier, and aiming was already very powerful. It wasn't really flight centric; it was aim centric. But aiming became more powerful. Now, if you slow it back down, IM is going to become kind of like what it was before. It's going to be the preferred everything, and only one controller can use that. So I'm still curious to know if they're going to rebalance that, because I think they're going to have to if they want to make it work. But as I said a long time ago, they said they're going to rip the Band-Aid off. They said that
hopefully it's just gone.
Hopefully it's just gone. Hopefully that's the Band-Aid. And that Chris Roberts has been playing his own game, and he wanted to make changes, and I think this is what we're looking at. And a great thing about this too, a long time ago, I don't know how many of you out there play with Gamepads, but Gamepad was a viable option. In fact, in the top 10 in Arena Commander back in the day, you'd have Gamepad players, top 10, top 100, top 50. There was kind of pretty well dispersed, but once they doubled the speeds and everything and made it even twitchier, Gamepad died. There was no way it could compete, and the original promises of the game was controller agnostic. And so the idea that if they bring the pacing down, those of you who want to play with Gamepad should have that as an option again. And those of you who don't have joysticks that are as precise, like Lightning here has an X52, and I use 2 T16000Ms. Now, right now it's a big deal, but if the pacing slows down, his X52 becomes more useful. It becomes the amount of accuracy you need, so to speak, the pinpoint accuracy becomes lessened, and his stick becomes more viable. And while we're not looking for the pacing of something like Elite Dangerous, but he can attest that in Elite Dangerous, the stick works fine.
Oh yeah, Elite Dangerous has absolutely no problems with its flight model. Everything works. It all feels greasy smooth. Yeah. It just feels good to fly in that game. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of other things about the game that can be a little bit boring, which is kind of like, but that's not for this.
So, those are some of the general upcoming changes, and they're going to get into more detail on Around the Verse. So definitely, that's one to watch. If you normally don't watch it,
like me, I hate it. I haven't watched it for like a year.
I give him the highlights. So basically, watch this one. I think it's important.
Before we switch on to our last topic, though, I'd like to touch on one thing. Because we are talking about this quote-unquote leak, which, some of the information may or may not be true because it's a leak.
Yeah.
So it's going to the EvoKati test branch, which we could easily make an entire video talking about the subject.
We could.
I'd like to just sum up a couple different points, and you can chime in on what you think. So I was reading the Reddit posts where they were talking about that, and I think honestly there was a couple of the EvoKati guys on there, because they were smashing people like, you don't know anything and blah blah blah, and it's like these guys are either part of the EvoKati test and are so up their own ass, whatever, I don't give a shit if you guys are watching, that they don't know that they're supposed to be testers, bug testers. If that is what it was set up, we need people that are willing to play in the broken, most horrible state of the game and just play and do bug reports. I have no problem with that. But if they are actually saying like, oh, this was good, keep this, or this was bad, get rid of this, and the devs are going, oh yeah, sure, why not, cool, whatever, that is not what they're supposed to be. And who knows if that's actually true or not, because there's this NDA and there's this black wall, as I've been calling it, that we don't get any information about these people. I know that they can't be as open development as some people want, but I think this EvoKati thing is putting a barrier between the players, the backers, and the development staff, which a lot of people are very unhappy about.
I agree, and there's a real issue there where basically, okay, so they've got, let's say, 1,000 people in EvoKati, and they base EvoKati on how many bug reports people have submitted. Well, it's kind of a loop that feeds into itself. You go into EvoKati, you get all the most of the bugs first, you file the most bug reports, so you keep staying in EvoKati. In my opinion, they should rotate a portion of them out every time to let fresh people in. I don't know if they're doing this or not, or I assume that maybe at some degree.
There's no information being released.
Well,
absolutely nothing.
And the problem is that a lot of people who are the hardest core of those testers are the people who enjoy the game the way it currently is, and a lot of people, including the polls that I've seen on the forums in general and whatnot, I know that they're waiting for it to change. I mean, when you've got 1.5 or nearly 1.6 million backers and only 200 people a day play Arena Commander, it doesn't really say that there's a lot of people out there that are happy with the current flight model. It says quite the opposite. So the problem I have with it is that you get basically this group of people in there that love it the way it is, and if something comes out that changes the way that it is, very much what Lightning says, they come out and they complain, or they say it doesn't work or whatnot, and it gets removed, and we never get to see it. And what could have been a wonderful way to fix something or bring things together gets axed before we even know about it. And to me, I have a real problem with that, because it becomes kind of an echo chamber, a feedback loop, and you end up with the game not going anywhere. And I hope the devs are, at this point, when Chris Roberts playing his own game, he's going, no, just make it work. I don't care how you do it, make it work. And that's staying in, make it work. And that's a start, because at least that way we'll get to see it, and then we can argue how to make it work better. But hopefully we're at that point, because they're down to the wire now. This is the last flight change model that they can do before Squadron 42. There's no time left. This is we're almost in October now. Okay, we got CitizenCon coming up, October, November, December, Squadron 42. They got 3 months now, 3 months to finish a flight model. Okay, this is, and if they get the new patching system with 2.6, which will let them do small fixes, let's hope they've done that.
Hopefully we'll see smaller and faster patches, because we
can get the small adjustments to that flight model on the fly as they need to, day by day, to get it set. So this is the crunch. This is crunch hour. Okay, this is when everything has to come together to get, because they want the flight model, I'm pretty sure, to be similar between this and Squadron 42. They don't want two different flight models. Okay, that would just be kind of weird. So that's our concern when it comes to EvoKati. Now, I guess, did you have anything else you wanted to say on it, Lightning?
Well, I'm probably running a little bit long as it is.
Well, yeah, that's fine.
Well, it's pretty much just dead air here as I'm trying to think on the fly. As
your only weakness.
Yeah, I mean, a better way. Because you have a game in front of me that I'm playing because I'm talking over something. But a better way, if they really wanted to make the EvoKati better, is you'd have an EvoKati whatever server, right? And then, like, we're doing EvoKati testing. They put out a post or a statement like, EvoKati is going to do some testing, and the first X amount of players that log onto the server will get access. And then those people will be added to a list like, okay, these guys came in and tested. We want new people to come in. And if they did this and they just rotated everybody out, maybe you would get more leaks. But the thing is, we're already getting leaks.
Yeah.
And, whatever. So that way you'd get different people coming in, So you'd get different opinions. Maybe not all the bugs would be caught. Maybe they would, just because of the different people. And obviously, like, let's say you can track the hours that they play, which I'm sure they can. So if someone was like, oh, this guy played for like 64 hours out of the 70 hours that the server was up, maybe we want to bring this guy back in, because he put a lot of time into it. And so they can kind of get people in and out. But
see, I
haven't seen anything where, like, I don't see any reports about, oh, these people are not EvoKati anymore, we're going to release more EvoKati people, we're going to add more people in. I have not seen this come up once.
You see, for me, I just thought like they should at least remove half. Like if it's 1,000 people, you keep 500 your best, and you open it up for 500 new people, and then basically that way you're getting fresh ideas, fresh minds in there. You're keeping your top bug testers, and at the same time, you're introducing that fresh blood into the testing mix. So, but yeah,
people that are excited to test.
Yeah, we're in a similar thought process, not just different ways of going about it. But the last thing I want to bring up here is that one of the subscribers I have, Adolfo, he asked a question, and I did want to discuss it because I love interacting with you guys. So you're always welcome to ask questions, and we'll do the best to address them. He wanted to know what we thought about DirectX 12 implementation, and did we feel that Star Citizen was going to be fully implementing it or just partially, because a lot of games out there, they support DirectX 12 as they're coming out, but they don't actually fully implement it. I personally feel that they will probably go 70-80% of the way. They might do more. They've surprised us. The thing is that NVIDIA's been doing a lot of advertising with Star Citizen. They've been putting it using Star Citizen images and things like that for their advertisements. To me, it shows there's a little bit of a push here to have Star Citizen be used as a flagship for displaying new technology. So I think that they're going to go ahead and utilize as much as they can. Of course, they also do have a building full of CryEngine engineers who have already turned the game into a 64-bit code. They're redoing the network code. Is it possible that they can do the whole thing with DirectX 12? Sure, absolutely. I mean, but I'm gonna say 70-80% just to be safe. Either way, I mean, I would love to see as much DirectX 12 implementation on that, because it's going to increase your frame rates, it's going to make the game run better, it's going to actually make SLI work much nicer. As I said, I don't think they're gonna go all the way on it, and I said I hope I'm wrong. What do you think, Lightning?
I'd say you're about in the ballpark that I would guess. I would actually throw higher. I'd say between 80 and 90%. But then again, it could be one of those things where it's not percent based. It's like, what features can you add in? Okay, these work and these don't. So you get either 50% or nothing. So, like, I'm more of a hardware person. I actually went to classes on hardware repair, hardware troubleshooting, all that kind of stuff. So when someone looks at something and says, okay, well, I have these problems. Okay, well, it's probably this. And it's a hardware thing. When you're looking at software, there are so many different variables. I mean, you could have a program that's got 10,000 lines of code, and that's nothing. You could have a program that's got 100,000 lines of code. And when you're trying to implement these things, there's going to be some things that will work, and there's some things that just flat out won't work. But Star Citizen is still very much in development. Most of the stuff has been rebuilt already. I mean, it was originally CryEngine. So if you go back and look at like Crysis 2 or whatever, that is what Star Citizen used to be. And now it's a space game.
And that's a CryEngine.
Yeah, with CryEngine or whatever. But they've taken a first-person shooter model and they've turned it into a space shooter model. Yes, unfortunately, we still have a lot of first-person mechanic things, but it's still a very much in development game. And hopefully we're going to get the flight model that Chris wanted, that a lot of people wanted, where it's more of a pseudo sim. I don't want to be playing DCS here. I mean, I like simulators and stuff, but
I see them being able to implement a lot of stuff. They've already done more than we expected with the procedural planets and things like that. So they always seem to surprise. And as I said, I'm excited about the flight change model because that was a nice. I don't know if it was a surprise. I saw it coming eventually. But so yeah, I mean, I see them getting at most of the implementation all the way. They might surprise us going all the way. And we've done 2 witch ships as a final thought. We were going to do one about the Freelancer versus the Cutlass, but after the information that was given out that the Cutlass is getting a radical change. We're talking about its role, its function, even how it loads cargo into the ship. We're going to hold off on doing a wood ship on X right now because it seems like they've already reworked the Freelancer, and the Cutlass is going to be might be radically different. And
I pretty much have an idea of what the Cutlass is going to change into already. So
yeah, but I still feel better knowing exactly what they end up with because I'm not exactly sure they know. So what I'd like to suggest here to anyone who's watching, if there's two ships of similar price value out there that you want to see a comparison video on or get our thoughts on which one we would prefer, please go ahead and leave comments down below, or you can go ahead and message me on Twitter. You can do that for anything, any requests, any questions. I'm
not
definitely
anything.
Well, not anything. Obviously, there's some limits, but anything related to what we talk about. I don't know if your baby's formula needs to be at a certain temperature. Don't ask, okay? So anyway, just feel free to contact me, and we'll discuss it, and we'll go ahead and bring it to the front. All right, guys. Well, that's this week's BlastCast, and hope you enjoyed it. And as always, extra long BlastCast, and leave comments down below, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.
Hey, this is Jarvis.
And Lightning Dragon's here.
And we're going to be discussing our experiences we had in the persistent universe and kind of give you an overview of where we feel the state of it is this week. So join us on this extra cast.